The Senate majority denies talk of a Senate coup but says power sharing is possible in the future. The House of Representatives extends the suspension of Kiko Barzaga for, quote, continued misconduct on social media. The Independent Commission EDCOM2 urges the government to shift away from using public schools as evacuation centers. The Washington Post begins widespread layoffs, drastically shrinking the storied newspaper. And Nobel Peace Prize laureate Maria Ressa is recommended to the United Nations Scientific Panel on Artificial Intelligence. Senator Loren Legarda presided over the resumption of the Senate session on Wednesday, February 4, after it was suspended for more than an hour. This amid speculation she was set to become the chamber's first female leader.
Thank you very much, Madam President.
Senate Majority Floor Leader Mig Zubiri told Legarda after she banged the gavel to resume the session, adding that it was nice to see her at the Senate President's seat. There were only 10 senators when session resumed on Wednesday, all members of the majority bloc. Since Monday, there had been rumors that the minority bloc was courting Legarda to wrest the Senate presidency from Tito Sotto. This after a draft Senate Blue Ribbon Committee report recommending plunder charges against Senators Chis Escudero, Joel Villanueva, and Jinggoy Estrada over their alleged involvement in anomalous flood control projects. Talks about possible power sharing in the Senate were fueled by a photo posted by Senator Kiko Pangilinan of the majority bloc's meeting while session was suspended with the hashtag power sharing. The meeting, joined by Legarda, apparently averted a Senate coup. The House of Representatives extends the suspension of Cavite 4th District Representative Kiko Barzaga due to his supposed continued misconduct on social media. The House adopted on Wednesday, February 4, the Ethics Committee recommendation to issue another 60-day suspension against Barzaga. Barzaga had already been slapped with the same punishment 2 months ago for social media posts that his colleagues found to be reckless. 238 lawmakers voted yes to continue his suspension, while 10 objected and 9 abstained. The Ethics Committee also condemns Barzaga's decision to ignore hearings on his suspension. Barzaga was present at the plenary on Wednesday and voted against the new suspension order. The penalty keeps him barred from House sessions, salary, and office privileges. The Second Congressional Commission on Education, or EDCOM2, urges the government to shift away from using public schools as evacuation centers during disasters. It says this practice contributes to the country's learning crisis. The commission points out the law says schools should serve as temporary shelters only as a last resort and for a limited time period. Conversion into evacuation centers prompts schools to operate in temporary learning spaces. Citing data from the Education Department, EDCOM2 also says over 10,000 schools were affected by calamities just from June to October 2025. It says disasters are now one of the most disruptive forces shaping the learning environment in the Philippines, repeatedly destroying school infrastructure and interrupting education at scale. EDCOM2 reiterates the need for alternatives to the Department of Public Works and Highways to address classroom shortage, replace aging school buildings, and make infrastructure resilient to disasters. The Washington Post begins widespread layoffs that will drastically shrink the size of the storied newspaper, affecting all departments. Executive Editor Matt Murray informed the staff of the cuts, which will cut across the international, editing, metro, and sports desks. The Post, owned by Amazon.com founder Jeff Bezos, says in a statement, quote, "The Washington Post is taking a number of difficult but decisive actions today for our future, in what amounts to a significant restructuring across the company." One Post reporter, speaking anonymously, calls the layoff a bloodbath. Those affected include Amazon beat reporter Caroline O'Donovan, Cairo Bureau Chief Claire Parker, and other Middle East correspondents and editors. The employees' union WAPO Guild says on X, if Jeff Bezos is no longer willing to invest in the mission that has defined this paper for generations, then the Post deserves a steward that will. Rappler CEO and 2021 Nobel Peace Prize laureate Maria Ressa is among 40 experts recommended by United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres to join the Independent International Scientific Panel on Artificial Intelligence. The panel will serve as the first global scientific body on AI. Guterres says the panel will be dedicated to, quote, helping close the AI knowledge gap and assess the real impacts of AI across economies and societies. The panel has been mandated to produce an annual report on opportunities, risks, and impacts of artificial intelligence, the first of which will be presented at the UN Global Dialogue on AI Governance in July. The proposed panel is equivalent to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, but for artificial intelligence. Canadian AI pioneer Yoshua Bengio and French National and Senior Director for Research and Engineering at Google DeepMind, Joël Barral, are also on the proposed list. And that's today's wrap. I'm JC Gotinga. Thank you for watching. Click the link below for the full story. For more updates, download the Rappler app.